have you had an experience? I think Peter gave some good ones there as well, but can you think of any more experiences that on the surface were like, I cannot believe I've got to do this, go through this, got passed over for this,
Mhm.
and then created an opportunity for you that other people weren't granted?
Yeah. So I was passed over for being a VP because I didn't have my bachelor's degree.
That skill that you've developed, more of your cultural capital, the ability to turn things around and turn them into defined that benefit and take it is a phenomenal skill to put in that cultural capital and to tout to people. I know how to do this.
Mhm.
Where a lot of people don't even think about it because, like your colleague's son or friend or whatever it is,
Yeah.
they use their cultural capital differently. He had different cultural capital and used it in a different way. But while there are certain skills, talents, and abilities that that person, I'm sure, has to navigate,
Yeah.
the ability to do what you did takes years and years of experience to develop. If I could just point out one more thing,
Yeah.
or just a connection to something that you said that really struck me, it was when you said, and it's easier because I had that experience. Again, reminds me of video games. And if you're wondering why I bring them up so much, I am not a gamer. I wish I were. But I read an NPR article that says to connect, if you really want to connect with your 12-year-old, have them teach you how to play a game. And at the time, my son was obsessed with The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
And I love Zelda.
I now love Zelda too because you taught me how to play it, and it took me like seriously. There are still times where I have to hand him the remote and say, "Can you kill this thing for me? Because I can't do it.
That's right.
I can't do it yet. I can't do it yet. But
Yeah,
I'm in a hurry, so I'm going to need you to do that so I can grab whatever's in that chest."
that's right.
So, but I love that game, and what I found is after my first playthrough, I wasn't tentative the second time. I knew I could do it. I knew it might be hard. I knew that if I died in the game, I didn't die in real life. So, like, I didn't feel the nerves. And that really translates over to real life. Entrepreneurship, oh my goodness, I feel like I'm jumping out of an airplane some days,
Scary.
multiple times a day,
Right.
but it's less scary every time.
Mm, wonderful.
So thank you for that. I'm wondering if anybody has anything else they want to share, any questions, any ideas that we haven't explored around this topic of how our experience really provides us capital to invest in our careers.
Just get to be 60 something as a black man in tech, and the opportunities for reflection and seeing things from a different lens and sharing about moments that at the time you didn't recognize what they were are limitless. And so I'm taken away with what Tony shared and what you've talked about, and just the number of times that just little innocuous sorts of things that we went through give us that resilience, that agency, self agency that you might not know that you have
Mhm.
just by even that experience. And I had about 17 to talk about a minute ago, just and I would ask, could you kind of repeat your question again, or your thesis of, you said, I didn't quite hear you about what you said you wanted us to talk about.
Just if you have an example of a situation that was uncomfortable, that basically on its surface was bad news, a bad experience, and what you drew, that you were able to draw from that something that actually helped you to achieve what you wanted to achieve or rise up.
Sure. So there was a phenomenon that was happening for me. Act one, maybe I'm an electrical engineer. Oh, by the way, I'm in Dallas, Dallas, Texas, a different time zone here. And so Act one, I'm an electrical engineer, got in the oil industry, and then was at Mobil Oil for 12 years. It's awesome to be at a Fortune 6 company, for your first corporate experience. And then a layoff happened, and then I ended up somewhere else, and then somewhere else, and another layoff, and then ultimately, I didn't know you could get fired for things you didn't do. Like I didn't know that could happen, and certainly not to me. Well, that does happen to people. It happens to people all the time, actually.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
most people don't have the resources or connections to do anything about it, or they don't, they just have to get another job, get unemployment or whatever. And so, due to other factors in my life, I had a little bit of ability to pivot and deal with things like that. Ultimately, my last employer, literally the CIO calls me up to the VP of HR's office, and I was told, get your coat, get your keys, and get out. I'm in senior management. Get your coat, get your keys, and get out. I had a tape recorder at that moment. I ended up suing them, and they paid me $400,000.
Yeah.
But what it did is it helped me realize the problem was I speak up, I have ideas, and this corporate experience was uncomfortable with me and that. And they want my products, they want my ideas. I did figure that out. I started a software company and sold them to them in ways that I didn't have to go with that. I don't have to be there. Somebody else can sell my product. And Tony and you all talked about change management. I was in the CMDB configuration management database space. I started the same year ServiceNow did. So that's my number one competitor. And so I went in and put in change management process. That's IT change management, not organizational change, but it did drive organizational change. But literally that experience of, you know what, this corporate thing isn't working for me. It's just not, for whatever reason. That empowered me to take the leap, jump across the line, and I can bet on me. Let me bet on me instead of these people that at the upper levels change seats, and then I've got to change jobs because they want to bring in their friend. So
Yep.
Yes.
so, you look at those experiences, and while it wasn't fun and I didn't like it then, I can look back on it and say, thank you, Jesus. Thank you for that. And it helps you grow. And those happen all the time, I think, for us.
Yes.
Yes, it does. And I also want to say thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I'm like, that is that's a testimony right there that people need to hear, that it's not a cautionary tale. It's something that opens you up to other opportunities. And the wisdom that you have by going through so many of those acts, I, for one, am really, really grateful that you started this organization and that you participate, because I'm already gifted by the knowledge you've shared, by what Tony has shared, and by the journey that Durrady is on. So thank you. This
Well,
is
sure. If you think about it, we in America, at least, we didn't get enslaved in Africa. We weren't impaled. We weren't thrown over the boat. We weren't assaulted, legs cut off, amputated, raped. It was horrible, back then. And we have so many grandmamas and people that stood in the gap, and we need to stand in a gap. If it's a podcast, if it's a nonprofit, I mean, we really need to do something, because a lot that went on in this world, I think about the Japanese people in America that were interred and all their property was taken. That wasn't cool. What about the American Indians that we just took all their stuff? I say we, it wasn't me. I didn't do it, but there's a lot of wrong that goes on. There's not really reparations, and life's not fair. That's a truism, but we need to embrace where we are and make it better going forward from here. And we have a lot of agency. We have a lot of cultural capital, and Black people in tech can actually leverage that now. It was something you couldn't bring up, and just like women, you just had to be invisible. But now we can actually use those things.
And that's one of the reasons why I do this.
likewise, and I'm here to support y'all. Like I said, I'm going to join. Absolutely, I'm so excited about this, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to be involved today. Thank you.
Dorita, did you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything you wanted to share?
Oh, yeah. I want to say, like, honestly, all of your three stories, honestly, is so inspiring. Kesha, you're just amazing. Honestly, what you spoke today. I'm still early in my journey, so I don't have a much relatable experience. But for me, it's on being laid off and deciding to go back to school to get my computer science degree was like something that kind of like it's an opportunity that I felt like, oh, it came at the right time. If I did not get laid off, I would not even thought of like going back to school and doing furthering even my education. I already have a bachelor degree, but I'm coming from a different background. It is non-tech background, so my Salesforce experience is also like I just did some certificate and got a job. So it was like there was a lot of challenging situations to even get an interview and get a job, but I made it, and I got in, and I was able to see all of that. But a layoff happened, and I understand this is how it works especially in corporate America. But taking that as a challenge, and also like thinking to actually pick from where I was and then further my education even deep and trying to get into tech. So I have a different background from all three of you, but I'm also originally from Ethiopia. So culturally, I'm completely completely different from what Black people went through in the US. But I can also relate and understand.
Absolutely. And that's great, by the way. That just means you're building your capital right now. And the reality is as life goes on, sometimes we automatically or we're forced to, or we do it by ourselves. Like I went back to school by myself, but in this case, now you went back to school. Sometimes you take 2 or 3 steps backwards to get 5 forwards. So just know that what you're going through is, is a path by itself that's going to be successful too. But it's okay. Don't feel like just because you're going back to school, collect as much as you can, get the knowledge you can, and use that culture capital.
I will. Thank you. Thank you, Tony. And thank you, everyone.
Absolutely. We'll have more sessions, by the way. I'll produce this. Also want to make sure everybody gets connected to our LinkedIn site, because this is where we'll distribute a lot of the videos. And then Kesha, if it's okay, I'll call you right after this.
Sure.
Just to have a quick chat. And then most importantly, I want to thank everybody for joining today. This was our first one. We've already got multiples planned again, and Kesha, we're going to bug you again too. And so this is a channel where we really want to help people. So help our people, and whatever stage that they're in, wherever they are, we can use all of us to get through the challenging days. And that's all they are. Some are tough, some are great, but getting through each one of them is the success. Thank you, everybody. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you, Kesha. You're wonderful.
Bye.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Doriti.
Thank you. Bye.
I'll talk to you soon.